Instagram. Awesome.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Hello, and welcome to the Sales Reset official launch. Today, I am joined by Kurt Anderson and Damon Pasuka. We are going to drill down into all of the reasons why I wrote the Sales Reset. They're going to ask me questions. They're like the president and co-president of the Wesleyan Fan Club.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to hand it over to you guys to get us started.
Well, all right. First off, Damon, we'll try to do this. Do you have your Kleenex ready, Damon?
Yes,
I know,
I do.
we're like Wesleyan's uncles. We're gonna get all like sappy and like.
Yeah.
So first off, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. What an absolute, just a celebration, just a wonderful opportunity to just celebrate our dear friend Wesleyan. She just poured her heart and soul into this labor of love, this wonderful, incredible book. And just, sharing her expertise, and anybody out there that has just had a sliver of Wesleyan, you will never meet anybody that has a greater contagious enthusiasm, just a positive force. She's just a wrecking ball of just inspiration, man. How about that? You like that one, Damon? I just thought that one out.
Wrecking ball of
inspiration.
I like that. A wrecking ball of inspiration.
So, Damon, what do you have for us about our dear friend Wesleyan?
Well, every time you talk to Wesleyan, you really understand, like you said, the passion that comes through. And then when you hear her talk about sales and the approach she takes towards sales, it blends this mixture of an engineering process driven mindset with, really having a good attitude about your sales and really understanding that piece of it too, because the two have to come together to be really successful in sales. And I think that's what's always really been helpful when I listen to her and she talks about sales.
So Wesleyan, before we dive into the why, just give us a little bit of the inspiration of your full-time mom, sales guru, solopreneur, running your business. You've got clients, you're super active in faith in your church. How on earth did you find time to write this book?
Everything that I do, I'm really intentional about it. And so at first I said, I don't have time to write a book. And I looked for ghostwriters to help me write the book. But the ticket price was like, oh no, Wesleyan, you're going to find time to write this book. So what I did was I got really intentional. I think when I first decided that I'm going to sit down and write a book, it was probably around October 2024. And the push that I got was I was at a conference and one of my colleagues, she does something in a similar space as I do. And at the end of that night, we were about to go to our hotel rooms and she was like, Wesleyan, if you don't write this book for you, write it for people like me, because we need to hear the things that you have to say. And so I was like, okay. So I looked at my entire calendar for the rest of that year and I was like, where am I going to carve out time? So I decided to carve out from December 26th through the end of the year. I said, okay, for 5 days, I'm just going to spend time writing. So I spent 5 days and I got the first draft. And I was like, wow, this just flew out. And then I had to go from first draft to second draft. And then there was editing and formatting and all the things that you have to do. So I decided at the beginning of 2025 that every Friday morning and every Saturday morning for 3 hours, I would block out, I called it writing time. And so I spent that time editing my drafts, rewriting, focusing on whatever the comments the editors gave to me. And I really had to protect that time. So Friday mornings was a little bit easier. I just told my assistant no meetings from 9 to 12. But Saturday mornings, I have 2 young kids, not young kids, 2 active children.
2 young men.
2 young men, right?
Yeah.
And they're active. And so I really had to be intentional about, okay, so in the spring, we have basketball. And basketball games are like 1 o'clock. So if I needed my 3-hour writing time, I had to get up early enough, make sure that I gave him breakfast, had him ready so that we could be at basketball on time. So I think for me, it was really making sure that I had my priorities right. Mandy.
Hey, Mandy.
Excited. Thank you so much for being here. Not sure who this person is, but I am so glad to have you and Dr. Jim.
Dr. Jim is here.
Dr. Jim. He gave me a great video testimonial. He's a part of my launch team. So glad to have you, Dr. Jim.
Awesome. Good. Awesome. Excellent. Well, Damon, take it away, man. What we were here like rapid fire. We're going to be hitting Wesleyan's on the hot seat.
Yeah.
This wonderful, famous author that she is. What have you got?
Well, let's just start a little bit, just a brief introduction about Wesleyan and how, you know, your sales career, because I think that really kind of sets us up right for talking more about, you know, why and some other things. But talk a little bit about your sales career, because I think it's really important that people understand that.
Damon, do you know she's a recovering chemist?
I know. This is part of it.
Like, if you don't know Wesleyan, man, she is a Wesleyan. What does that mean to be a recovering chemist?
Yeah.
A recovering chemist. I went to school and I got a bachelor's of science in chemistry. And a fun fact that I don't share often is I took 2 semesters of English in college, and both of my English professors tried to get me to change my major to English because I was such a good writer. And I said, what am I going to do with an English degree? Like, what am I going to do with that? Because I was so STEM focused. Yeah. And I was like, no, this is what I want to do. And when I think about like my time in college, I was very focused on, I want to do this. I want to do research. I want to be really focused in this technical field. And so got out of college, worked in a failure analysis lab where I really focused on understanding why plastic parts break and having to give that feedback to our customers. And I was like, I want to do what the salespeople are doing. Like, this is cool, but I want to do what they're doing. And so when I got into sales, I finally figured out what I want to be when I grew up, because I love it. Like, there's nothing, I'm not going to say there's nothing about sales I don't like, but I just love it so much.
Yeah. And that's what's cool, because that comes through in everything you do.
Yeah.
Comes through. We got some more comments here, though. We got Corey.
Thank you for the congrats.
More congratulations. Look at our love here. We got Alan is here.
Yes. Thank you so much, Alan. I'm glad that you're here. Yes, Corey. I'm glad that you're a part of this too. I appreciate everybody's support from everywhere. This is exciting times.
So when we talk about a book, I mean, this is you did it a little bit differently than a lot of people. And sitting down and writing, you know, at least the first draft in 5 days. That's crazy. First of all, it's a lot of effort. But what really was your seed that ignited? You know, you had a friend that tell you that. I mean, and that's one thing, a friend to tell you something like that. Yeah. But the actual thing that got you from there to actually writing the book, because it's 2 different things.
So I really feel like, so in the specific area of sales that I worked in, which is field sales. So I had to get out of my office, knock on doors, do demos, fly around the country. I just didn't feel like there were a lot of solid sales books that address field sales specifically. And so that was my initial intent. And so in my initial pass at writing the book, after I read through it, I was like, this is a great how-to manual. But who needs another how-to manual? Like, there are a gazillion how-to manuals out there. We don't need another one of those, right? So I decided, I was like, okay, this is great. It teaches you how to sell. It gives you all of those tactical elements. But what made me really good, and what do my clients say helps them the most? And what I hear over and over and over and over again, it's Wesleyan. You help me believe this. You help me see this. You help me break this thing. And that's what helps them continuously hit their quotas. It helps managers. It helps entrepreneurs. So I was like, okay, that's the thing that I want to do. I want to blend the mindset, all of the mindset work, all of the belief work, because there's so many motivational books out there. And I wanted to blend that with the actual tactical components of sales.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is. Hey, you've got another friend here. Eric's in the house. Eric dropped a comment here.
Hey, Eric.
Says congratulations.
Oh, we got Ann too.
Ann on Facebook. Thank you.
Yeah.
Congrats. Thank you so much, Eric. I appreciate you for coming. Thank you for the congratulations. I appreciate it.
So Kurt, talk a little bit about that. And you read the book and talking about the the mindset part of it, because you're trying to think about the value that Wesleyan provides and just blend that in a little bit with our conversation here.
Yeah, and just and Wesleyan, if you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen for a second. Can you pop that up there? And
Okay. Thank you,
just,
Catherine. I appreciate
Yes.
you being here.
Catherine.
All right.
All righty.
Hey, Damon, take a look at that, dude. There, she's Wesleyan. How does that feel? Like just like,
Yeah, that's a big deal.
How does that feel? So, guys, this is just so exciting. Just stop by Amazon, wherever you love buying a book, and grab that sales reset. Is just a wonderful. And you'll fly right through it. It's just a really inspiring book. Wesleyan shares her story, and that's, I think, a couple of things that I want to talk about, Damon, is I'll stop sharing my screen. We'll come back because we've got a couple of things that we want to show about what's going on with that book. But Wesleyan, you share a story of like how you started out as a young chemist, just coming out of college. Again, we're not going to spoil no spoiler alerts because people have to go out and get that book. But you found yourself like just kind of going out there, and you had a mentor, and so. Talk a little bit again, just, without giving away the secret sauce, talk a little bit about how important that mentor was to you, being a fresh, young woman starting your career right out of college.
Yeah, so I've had so many mentors throughout my career and throughout my life. And I think that when I was a chemist, so I mentioned always being in the lab, and I'm like, I want to do what the salespeople are doing. And so Joe, he was a salesperson that he would always come back. As soon as he came back from his customers, I was the first stop. Like sometimes he would come in the lab with his briefcase still on his back, like, hey, Wesleyan, let me tell you what happened. And we had all of these great conversations. And so he helped me understand the why, what he was doing. And it helped connect like that very theoretical work I was doing in the lab with like what was happening in the field. And he knew I liked the stories. He knew I wanted to know what was happening underneath. And so he really opened it up for me. And so when I stepped into sales, I channeled Joe, because nobody told me what to do. They were like, just go sell. I said, what do you mean? I don't know how to sell. I'm a chemist. I've never sold anything a day in my life. So I literally did what I used to do with Joe. And so what I would do with him is I would ask him questions, and he would tell me about what happened. And based on the questions that I asked and his answered, I would know what to do in the lab. I would know how to test, how to do this or how to do that. So when I think about like how he really impacted the way that I still teach people to sell today, he was so instrumental in my career.
Yeah. And I absolutely love that. And a big thing that you talk about, hey, we've got a couple more friends here. I see Steve Smith is here today.
Steve, so good to see you, Steve. Thank you so much for being here. Precious, thank you. Precious, she works with me, and let's just say writing a book, producing a book requires you to step outside of your business a lot. Yep. So I want to make sure I say thank you to everyone on my team for making sure that I still had a business to come back to after I released my book. And Precious, what an asset she is to you and your team. And you know, and it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to write a book, right? So yes. And a big thing, you know, you've mentioned the word belief multiple times. And when folks buy the book, that is a key component to the book, is really, you talk about like the mindset, but really that firm, fierce belief in yourself. Yeah. Talk a little bit about how did you acquire that confidence, that belief in yourself? It was, I think for me, it was really like going down and then coming back up, right? And I think oftentimes what happens is we just feel like we need to be at the top of the mountain. Yeah. So I've always been smart. It's always been easy for me to get concepts. Like I've always been a high performer, but I realized that I was always a high performer and I kept trying to get to the next step. And every step I got to, I wasn't satisfied. And I was like, I don't know what's happening here, right? So I had to do work on myself. I had to invest in myself. I had to go to therapy. I talk about going to therapy in the book because I think that we don't talk enough about mental health and the impact that it has on us, especially as salespeople, right? winning 30% of your deals is considered good. No other industry, no other field, 30% is ever considered good. So getting comfortable with having that small of a win rate, or hearing no more than you hear yes, like it impacts you as a person. And a lot of times what happens is you internalize those things. So for me, I had to do deep work to really tap into who Wesleyan was, what I valued, and really understanding like, it's okay to not always be perfect. It's okay to sometimes not win a deal. It's okay. I am not tied to my pipeline. I am not tied to how successful I am, and really stand firm in that.
Well, I absolutely love that. And so I just, again, thank you everybody for being here, and just, you know, Wesleyan, can you just feel the love, the prayers, the just support, the arms wrapped around you? How about Mandy here?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Mandy. 5-star ratings. Yes, yes, yes. And I appreciate this reminder. As you're reading the book, please leave a review on Amazon and Goodreads. It really does help the visibility. It really does help to get the word out more. Thank you, Mandy.
Great point, Mandy. And hey, Wesleyan, just shamelessly, if you don't mind. So just so you guys know, Wesleyan calls me Uncle Kurt, right? Maybe I'm more like a big brother, but just, you know, raving president of the Wesleyan fan club. And we might talk a little bit about how you and I connected many years ago now. And so Wesleyan, when I got on Amazon, Uncle Kurt became very proud, because as a matter of fact, I'm sharing my screen. Can you pull
Let's
up?
See that again.
Let's take a look. So guys, if you go on Amazon hot new releases, look at that right there.
Hot new release.
Her book. So when you grab that book, like Mandy just mentioned, Mandy, thank you for dropping that comment there. Please go out there. Let's continue that love that we're showering with Wesleyan. Drop that review on her, and let's get this book to be a bestseller, because it is it's a blockbuster book. You guys are going to absolutely love it. So
yes.
Okay, number 3.
To see number 3 in the hot new releases on Amazon, this is amazing, right? Because I have put so much into this, and to see that so many people are already benefiting from it. And Amazon, the largest retailer in the world, is recognizing the work that I've done. I am just so grateful. I'm so happy.
Well, how about a round of applause for everybody from everybody here for Wesleyan going out and crushing it. And again, busy mom, running her business, doing all these things, super active in her church and her faith. And Catherine great investment, Catherine.
Yes.
So I will stop sharing. I'll come back here. So Wesleyan, let's you talk about mindset. Do you want to when we talk about the belief, this is your system, the belief system. Okay.
Yes.
Then, without giving away the secret sauce, do you want to kind of create a little FOMO for everybody out there? Give them a little taste of what this belief system is, because guys, when you read the book, she does a phenomenal job of taking. It's not just theory. It's here's action steps. So please share a little bit about the belief system.
So the belief selling system, so when I sat down and I said, okay, I don't want to have this how-to manual. What are the things that I do when I'm working with clients that actually help them unlock the code, right? Like, how do they go from this is where I am to exceeding their quota month after month, year after year? And so what I understood was there is a whole framework that I walk them through. And the first thing that we have to do is we have to realize, in order to build a new habit, we have to break an old habit, right? And we don't break an old habit until we identify it. So the very first thing that we have to do is identify what's holding us back. And then when we identify what's holding us back, we have to make sure that we're stepping into a space where we're embracing the hard of undoing or breaking whatever that thing is. Then we start to learn the skills. And so a lot of training starts, let's learn skills. I'm going to teach you how to cold call. I'm going to teach you better discovery. However, if I have a fear of rejection, or I don't like to ask questions, then it doesn't matter how well that script is. It doesn't matter how well I'm teaching something, because I'm not going to do it consistently. And once we teach something new, then we have to take risk and realize it's not going to work the first time or the second time or maybe even the third time, but we just keep doing it and we keep going and we keep going. Yeah. And then our cycle of learning is complete when we can teach it to someone else. So when you have the ability to take what you've learned and to teach it to someone else, you've really mastered the skill. And so in the book, every single tactical sales concept that I introduce, I show you how to walk through that framework, because every single skill, you must do all of those things. And so if you get really good at prospecting, but then you're like, okay, I have a whole big full top of funnel, but I can't convert anything because I'm not asking good questions, then it's not going to benefit you. So again, that through line is in the entire book.
You know, and Damon, feel free to chime in, but and again, not to give a spoiler alert, but you talk about like one of your first sales calls. Do you want to give and you know what? So not to put you on the spot, because the thing is, I've been on many calls with Wesleyan, and when as soon as we get off the call, like I probably like just vomited all over myself. And Wesleyan is a phenomenal coach, but just talk a little bit about like that first, just this little sliver for everybody, like that first sales call.
So again, I was a chemist.
Yep.
They sent me to Germany for 2 weeks. They said, hey, here's all the amazing things that we're going to teach you about these instruments. I learned from a whole bunch of engineers. They gave me stacks of shiny brochures to go out into the world. And they were like, just do it. And I asked a question. I was like, so if I show them the brochure and I talk about this stuff, then these instruments are going to sell. And they're like, this German engineering? Oh, it's going to sell itself. I said, okay, all right, let's do it.
Slam dunk.
I took my brochure and I was ready. And I called someone up who had been a prospect or somebody in that territory before. Yeah. And I did my spiel. I showed them brochure and I was like, okay, are you ready to buy? And I literally got thrown out of the office. Like it was we don't ever want to see you again. And I'm like, wait, what? So I was like, man, that must be a fluke. I did it again. I did the same thing again because, maybe that was the wrong person.
Yeah. He didn't get it. He didn't understand.
Right? Yeah, I didn't understand.
Anything happened. That was the moment I was like, what am I doing? I need to go back to the lab. Like the sales thing, it's not going to work. I was excited. So like within a month of starting my sales job, I was like, I am a complete failure. I cannot do this. This is not working. And I'm going back to work in the lab. So that was how my sales career started.
Yeah. So it's, we've all been there. We all continue to be there. The thing with this book that I'd like to emphasize is if you're an entrepreneur, like this book is for you, because like if you don't have a sales pipeline, dealing with people, and this is so much more than just like sales tactics, right? Again, it's mindset, it's the belief system, and then diving in, then it's skill set. So you kind of like lay that out. Damon, thoughts? What's going through your mind?
No, exactly what you're saying, Kurt. It is. Well, first of all, we all, if you've been in sales, you can remember your first time, and that's it's not pretty usually, but by the way you're putting it together in here, Wesleyan, and being able to show the mindset, the approach, all the things that you're doing, really puts it together and on a package that people can utilize.
Yeah.
So my question on this is, when you're getting ready to write this book and you're getting towards the end, what did you want people to be able to walk away with?
Oh, that's a great question, man.
I wanted them to be able to walk away with the I can do this spirit, right? Like I think because I love to read a lot. I read a lot of books, and sometimes I get through a book and no, let me stop. Let me not go there. Sometimes I get to like chapter 3 and I'm like, this is really, really good, but there's so much I have to change. Like, I don't want to keep reading because I feel like it's so overwhelming and there's so much work that's required me to do this or to do that. So I just put it to the side. Other times I get to the end of the book like, man, that was a great motivation. I'm excited. I'm revved up. But what do I actually do to get started? Right? Mm-hmm. So I wanted to create something where people can take action. And so after every chapter, you can take action. There's something that you can do. You feel empowered, even if it's just, let me read this belief selling framework at the end of the chapter to get my mindset in the game, right? So I want people to feel empowered to be able to do the work. And the work, it actually starts slow because it's the mindset work before you get to the tactical stuff. So that mindset work, you can be working on it as you're reading the book. You can stop and say, okay, let me focus on this or that. Like I start the book and say, we're going to journal. Most people don't want to journal, right? We're going to write down like, what are the moments in your life that impacted the way that you sell, the way that you show up, right? That's a lot of work that people don't typically do in business books. They're not stepping into it with that mind frame. So I really wanted people to have that I can do this attitude. And I also wanted them to really feel like this book is transformational, that they can take it and it will literally transform the way that you sell, the way that you think, the way that you show up.
Drop the mic, Wesleyan Whitaker. That was just all right. And the thing is, if you're not familiar with Wesleyan, Wesleyan, you are such a powerful communicator. Do you mind? Can I share one more thing with our friends out there? I'm just here to embarrass you. I'm just here to embarrass you. Can you pull? So this, guys, I'm sharing so I'm going to share a little story. So Wesleyan and I met a number of years ago through a LinkedIn connection. And this is a perfect example for like anybody who's pushing back on, oh, you don't meet people on LinkedIn. Well, I met these two characters on LinkedIn and we've been just fast three friends, three musketeers for many years. And so Wesleyan, so I'm in the front row, like tears are running down my cheek. There's like 400 or 500 people in the room. Yeah. This is a conference where Wesleyan is given a keynote speech. Wesleyan, talk a little bit about this experience and what I would love for you to do is slide into like how you're as a powerful communicator, how that transition to being an author, but just share a little bit of like, what are we looking at here on the stage?
Yeah, so this is a national conference for the Manufacturing Exchange Partnership. And I was brought in to be a keynote speaker on sales and leadership topics. And I think the most amazing thing about this, as Kurt mentioned, I think oftentimes when we think about building relationships or building our pipeline or building our funnel, we think about it in a very one-dimensional way. So Kurt and I, we met through a connection who actually introduced us and we just became fast friends. And because of that fast friendship, we started doing business together and exchanging leads and referrals. And I had this opportunity to speak at this conference because of the relationship that I built with Kurt. And so as we think about how do you build a pipeline, right? How do you actually build a pipeline? It's not only about just cold calling or cold emailing. So my friend Catherine Brown is here. And she says, I have spoken at a lot of her events. She's like a master referral person, right? Like she is all about the relationship that you build and how you can get business from the people that you know, like, and trust. So really thinking about having a very diverse spectrum of how you're building your business. And there's a whole chapter in here. It's called the 3 Pillars of Prospecting. And I talk about the things that you have to do, because if you're one-dimensional in how you're building your business, then at some point you're going to find that things kind of fall out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I know your father's a professor, if I'm not mistaken. And just where did this like power of communication, it's like from your heart, your soul, like just share a little bit. So if there's my daughter's taking public speaking right now, I'm like, man, I would love for her to connect with Wesleyan. Wesleyan, just share a little bit of like, where did that come from? What has that done for your career of just like really being this powerful communicator?
So it came from a few places. So as a child, I loved to read. And when I say love to read, I would be in my room reading with a flashlight. I would take my books to recess and go all the way to the back of the field, because I don't throw me a ball, don't kick the ball over here, just leave me alone with my books. And my mom used to take my books away and tell me to go play outside as punishment. Like, I love to read.
That's awesome.
So for me, I think my love of reading helped me develop this love of language. And so the first time that I can remember public speaking, I think I was probably like 10 or 11 years old. And I was asked to conduct so in the denomination I was in, we would have what they would call youth service, right? And so they were like, we want you to do youth service. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm just barely over being a child. How do you want me to do this? So they would put me on stage and I would have to get up in front of everyone. And I was conducting this youth service for people who are a lot older than me. And I think that this really, I don't want to say the love, but I think I honed my craft in college. So the department chair, Department of Chemistry, he is now passed away, gone on to be with the Lord. But Dr. Troy Stewart, he was such a great motivator for me because he told us our freshman year in college that we weren't allowed to go to summer school. We had to go out and we had to do research. And every year when we would come back during the school year, he would take us around the country to present this research. So 19-year-old Wesleyan was standing on stages in front of postdocs and people with PhDs presenting research. And so I got used to really understanding I'm good at this thing. I know you're good at your things, but I'm good at this thing. And I can talk about my little tiny thing and I can answer your questions about my little tiny thing. But that helped build my confidence. So I think throughout my life, being pushed out of my comfort zone, being pushed to those places where I didn't always feel like I was the smartest person in the room. I wasn't always the smartest person in the room, but I had people who pushed me and said, you can do this. I believe in you. You can do this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, let's savor that one for a minute. How about, so Wesleyan, let's go here. In the book, here's a great one. In being light, you talk a little bit about being light in sales. What can you elaborate on that? You know where I'm going here?
Yeah. So when we focus on being liked, it's likability versus value and respect, right? So there are a lot of people that I like, but I don't trust them and I'm not going to buy from them. And I'm not going to allow them to impact what I do, right? And I think that as salespeople, we focus too much on the likability. Like we focus so much on I want to be liked. And when we dig deep down and figure out what is the mindset or what is the belief, it's I am seeking my prospects' approval of me. So I need them to approve of me as a human being in order for me to give them value. And so if you think about how that even connects, it's like they have to approve of you. And so if we think about that need for approval, making somebody really say, oh, I like you, so I'm going to buy from you. We like a lot of people, like, the people in our life who sell multi-level marketing stuff. We like them. They're our family. But every time they're selling a knife or a candle or lotion or potion, we're not going to buy it from them because there's no value, right? So we have to make sure that we are using the value, leaning in on the value. And obviously, you're not going to buy from somebody who is a turd, right? No, you're not going to buy from them, but you can't only lean on likability. What is the value that I'm driving for this prospect? How am I helping them achieve their goals? That's what the core focus should be.
Yeah. If somebody has, and again, it's you got to have super thick skin, right?
Oh, yeah.
So if somebody has, let's say, like that scarcity mindset, or they just don't have that confidence level, and maybe they're not even in sales per se. I mean, this could be as a parent, as a friend, as a spouse, other things in life, or you're serving at a nonprofit. But how do we kind of you're a woman of faith. How do we build that confidence and maintain that humility, right?
So I think the first thing is you have to really be honest with yourself and let yourself know that this is something that I'm doing. I am leaning on this unhelpful thought, behavior, action, right? And so once you identify, right, the first step is always identifying. And you have to go deep. And going deep means, where did this come from? Where did my need to be liked, my need to be approved of come from? Did it come from, did it happen as a child? Because I was always bullied. And so I always wanted to be the one who was liked. Did it come from at the bottom of the rung. Like, understand it came from is really what helps you build that confidence and build the steps, the things that you need to overcome it. And I encourage you, as you are doing this work, sometimes this isn't self-work. Sometimes you need to seek professional help, because when you dig deep, you're starting to uncover some wounds, right? You're uncovering things. So seek out a therapist, seek out a coach, seek out a professional help. And then I think that it's also really important that you understand your identity. I have strong faith. You see my signs behind me. Like, understanding where your strength is coming from, understanding like you were created this way for a reason, and just standing in that and understanding there are no mistakes. There were no mistakes made when you were created. And so really doing that self-worth and doing that deep work is how you walk through some of these things that are holding you back, not just in sales, but in life, right? Because I have gotten feedback from people who've read the book. And they're like, this is more than a sales book. Like, this is really a mindset book. This is a book for you in life, how you overcome things that are holding you back.
Yeah. And I think one of the critical components, it's, I know there's another book, like, what got you here won't get you there.
Yeah.
And you do, and be honest with you, it was kind of an okay book. So I'm sorry to say that, but, but you do a phenomenal job in another, because it makes you think. Like, as I'm reading it, it's like, I feel like my accountability coach is on my shoulder, like, and you, one thing that really stood out to me is like that change of mindset. Why, if you're not hitting your goals, what is preventing you from hitting those goals?
Right.
Not just necessarily in sales, but you talk about conquering barriers. How do you conquer those barriers? Do you want to give us like a little preview, little sliver on like conquering those barriers?
Yeah, I think that one thing we have to remember is that myth of try harder, do more, get another degree, get another certificate. Those are lies. Those are all myths, right? Like, that doesn't help. If you push harder, if you get another degree, whatever you're doing, what you have to realize is you're not actually dealing with the thing. I have a client, and a previous client, and he was running away from his position. He was trying to do everything he could to get out of this hole he was in. And I asked him this question: what are you running away from? And he just looked at me and he was like, what? I said, what are you running away from? Because you're running away from something. And as we continue to work together and we dug deeper, he realized that he was running away from this uncomfortable place of things he hadn't addressed. He had blinders on. He wasn't dealing with parts of his parts of the territory. Like, he I'm applying for it. And I said, why? And I'm not running away from things anymore. So when you identify what is actually holding you back, when you truly get to that place and you say, I'm not running from this, I am dealing with the hard. I am sitting in this thing and I am dealing with it. That is how you overcome not just one barrier, but you overcome it long term. Because when you do the work, when you walk through the framework in this book, this isn't just a quick fix. This is like life changing, right? If you slow down and you take your time, you literally are going to change the trajectory of your life.
Let's just savor that. Let's just savor that.
Let it go.
What Now, if people aren't familiar, there's a hashtag out there. It's called Wesleyan Wisdom. And man, you're just getting golden nuggets. Damon, what's going through your mind, my friend?
Yes. Just thank you for sharing that little sliver of the book with us here today, first of all. And so I do have to say, I'm sitting here thinking about Wesleyan walking in as a field salesperson in your career, doing what you're doing. I wouldn't expect someone that looks like you to be writing a field, A, being in field sales, and then B, writing a book like this. Tell me what you because I know you're talented, awesome, all that stuff. But what do you hope this does for other people that may not feel like they should be in a position like this, but want to be?
Yeah, I think that the world of sales, especially field sales, it is, there aren't a lot of women of color, right?
No.
My very first international sales meeting, there were probably around 500 people there, and there were 5 women, and I was the only person of color in the room.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's still what the world of sales look like. There are less than 1%, yes, 1% of business books that are written by Black women. So for me, this is more than just a book. It is really me being very intentional about getting my voice and getting my word out there so that people know that listening to other voices or reading books by people that don't look like them, there's a lot of benefit to it, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so for me, even as I thought about this book launch, I partnered with a Black-owned bookstore. And that Black-owned bookstore is where you can get a signed copy of my book, because it's more than about me, right? It's about being able to show that, hey, when we not just listen to voices that are different than us, when we patronize businesses that are different than us, it helps us as a world, it helps the economy. And so, yeah, that is my hope. That is my goal. And I think that for me, some of the great moments that I've had just in this book launch period are the people who stood beside me. Like you guys coming on here, my big fans. When I asked you guys a couple weeks ago to do this, you're like, yeah, anything you need, right? And I think that what it signals to the world, it signals to the sales community, it signals to the professions, the fields that I really tap into, which are a lot of technical fields, right? Like manufacturing and petrochemical and, heavy industrial fields, that it's okay to take a chance on somebody who looks different than you, who sounds different than you, and who has different ideas and thoughts than you.
Yeah. And as Damon and I are big girl dads, what would you like to share with like young women, young aspiring women out there with everything that you've accomplished and with launching this book? What message would you love to share with young women that want to kind of play this role that you're playing?
I would say throw out the box. As women, we have a box. I am a single mom raising 2 boys by myself. And the world says that I should not be successful. The world says that I shouldn't have time to write a book. I shouldn't have time to have emotionally healthy, well-balanced children, as well as a thriving business. That's what the world says. But I threw out my box. And for me, throwing out my box meant that I did what the world didn't tell me to do. When I was first started in sales, I conformed. I wore khaki pants and I wore like work boots. And I was like, yeah, this does not work for me. I can't do this. So I switched the dynamic. If I knew I had to go into a plant, yeah, I might wear pants. But if I was going into a conference room, I was always wearing a dress. I wear red lipstick every single day. I have probably 15 tubes of red lipstick. I wear my earrings. I have natural hair. Like I am Wesleyan. And for me, being me, I feel more comfortable. And so I can show up as myself. I can ask the questions. I can lean in and I don't make myself small. So for any woman that is in sales, that is in entrepreneurship, that is doing anything where you are customer facing, be yourself. Like, don't conform, because when you conform, you make yourself small. And when you make yourself small, you're actually hurting yourself because you're signaling to your brain, I'm not worthy. This isn't worth it. I shouldn't be like this. I want to be more like that. And so I really encourage every single woman, doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter what has happened to you in life, like figure out what makes you tick and step into that.
Drop the mic. Drop the mic. I tell you, you are just such an inspiration. I can't tell you how many times I've told my daughter, like, hey, Wesleyan did this, Wesleyan did that, so on and so forth. And I love this. And I just want to share, before we went live, I shared this little joke with everybody. So Wesleyan and I did a ton of webinars, workshops together. And like, I'd show up just like frumpy, no hair, probably wearing the same t-shirt every day. And like every day, like Wesleyan would have like a different lipstick, different shade, earrings, the whole, like, she's such a class act. And it was a little like Beauty and the Beast hanging out together. So I always want to thank you for putting up with me. But you have two young men in your life and you share them frequently on LinkedIn. We have William and Wesley. Share a little bit, like, what do you feel this book did for them as like their mom, and what legacy do you want to leave? Like, what imprint did you want to leave on your young men in your life?
Yeah, you know, when I thought about my sons, I wanted them to know that you can do it, right? Mm-hmm. So they would see me in I call it my writing room, right? They would see me taking my time out because they would be here on Saturday mornings, and they would see me in there. My youngest son, he usually wakes up early, he would come and give me a hug and a kiss, and he's like, oh, you're writing, Mom? Like, yep, I'm writing. So one of the things that it signaled to them is that, hey, I can do something that I want to do as long as I put the work in. And so I see that playing out in them in their work ethic, whether it's a performance they're doing in theater, or it is something that they're doing in sports or even in school, like taking the time and just slowing down and building. And I also think for me, you know, both of my kids, because I've been in this world ever since they can remember. My oldest was almost 18 months when I started in sales. So this is the only job they really know that their mom had. They don't know me as a chemist working in a lab. So they know me as this person who is a go-getter. And so for them to see my name on a book, for them to see like, okay, my mom can do this. She can do this. I can do this too. And my oldest is going to college this fall, and he recently got admitted to college, and he got a full scholarship. And so for me, he will be the second generation college graduate with no dad that went to school on a full scholarship, just like I did. And so for me, I'm building these generational blessings. I'm breaking generational curses that have hindered my family for so long. And like, the boys get to see me in my humanity. They get to see me working hard, but we also get to take time to relax and enjoy. Like, I was like, we're going to celebrate tonight. We're going to dinner, right? So like, they get to see and experience all of these things.
Right. Hey, we've got a couple of comments here. Ann asked a question over here. Is the sale reset for only individual in sales? And not at all, Ann. It is a phenomenal book. It is great for, you know, if you're trying to overcome maybe some change of mindset, change of inspiration, change of just a trajectory of like your life, your career. This is a book for you. Hey, Jason has a great comment here. Hey, thanks for joining us, Jason. Thank you for the comment. So great, Wesley. And then Mandy's got another great comment here.
Yeah.
The world is ill-informed. Women can do anything we visualize and work towards. Wesleyan Whitaker, you are an excellent example of want it, do it, be it, and lead it.
Oh, I love that, Mandy.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Thank you. So guys, we've been on for a little over 45 minutes, and I sent you guys a gift because I love presents.
Oh, that's right.
My love language. So I sent you guys a gift. Can you open up your gift, please?